What's up? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you are listening to Liquid Carnage. We are back for another
Yeah,
episode, another week.
I
Season
know.
6, is it?
Yeah, we are in season 6. Yeah,
Oh man, season 6. I
yeah.
mean, we are cruising, man. We are binge worthy at this point. Hopefully,
Do you think the technology will keep up with us? That in 40 years, when we're still doing this show, and I don't have any teeth left, and I barely have any sight or hearing left, that we'll still be able to do this?
I like to imagine that we'll have somebody close to us that will just cut and paste old shows into reimagined shows with our personalities. Because by then, in theory, we have said every word in the English language at least once on our shows. So they can recreate a conversation between the two of us on a whole new topic using past words.
Well, and let's be honest, in 40 years, I will be dead. So you'll have to have the hologram version of myself. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll have to do it in a hologram version, but still be able to get it done just in a hologram version.
That's doable. That's
Yeah,
doable.
we'll make it work. We'll make
I
it
mean,
work.
let's be real though. If you could be a hologram, I know you would. I would definitely be a hologram. If I could be Tupac at Coachella, absolutely.
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
exactly.
and maybe that's how
Exactly.
people. That's how podcasts evolve
Yeah.
over the years.
You've had a very busy month of August, though, my friend.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
It is not slowing down.
you had one jackass friend that made you go to a birthday party at the beginning of August in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then you had more friends that said, hey, let's go camping with a bunch of kids running around.
No, that was actually on me.
Oh, okay.
I will take possession of that bet. I actually sent out a group text to um, a few friends we hang out with up here that all have children of similar ages. Because last year we were able to go out and take all the kids to Williams for Labor Day weekend and go, you know, to the lava tubes and do a bunch of fun things.
Yes.
And the kids had a great time. The adults had a great time. So it's about April or May when we were at our driest pre-monsoon season.
Okay.
I shot it out there and I said, "Hey, if they ever lift the fire bans this summer, is anybody interested in taking kids camping?" And everyone said yes. I said, "Cool. We'll watch to see if the fire bans are lifted. If they are, we'll figure it out." And in that
Beautiful.
conversation, everyone at some point said, "Well, this weekend in August works for us best." So, and you have to juggle because we've had to move around our schedules and really finagle, making sure we have our girls the same weekend everybody else has their kids, and we're kid free the same weekend they're kid free for the most part. I mean, we have Jocelyn most of the time except for summertime and major holidays, but it's a challenge. So, back in early July or mid July, right after monsoon started, it had been raining up by Williams quite a bit, and they lifted the fire ban. So I said, "Hey, they lifted the fire ban. Is anyone still interested?" Thinking everybody would say no, they've moved on. Apparently, people put everything in their calendars, and it was booked.
Well,
So
and let's be honest, I can see why, because it's the one time that kids are involved. Most of the time, we don't do kid involved friendly activities. So I'm sure they're always saying, "Oh, this will be great! Finally, something for the kiddies."
exactly, and it's a good summer fun thing. The school's just
Yeah,
started. It's a good weekend.
right.
So we planned it, man. And normally we go to the house of Williams, but this time we said, "Screw it, let's go up to White Horse Lake. Let's camp. Let's do the fun things with the kids." And it was an adventure, man. It's been raining nonstop. I think we've talked about the last couple of shows. It's basically
Yeah.
been the coolest month of August I can ever remember. There's been basically rain every day, and this weekend was really no different. It's finally starting to dry out a little bit, but Janice had to work later on into Friday, so I went up with the girls early to go get everything set up, and then she was going to meet me in Williams, and I'd come back into town to grab her and take her back out there, which
Okay.
worked out because for a day and a half trip, when you really think about it, or 2 days, Friday afternoon to Sunday morning,
Right.
you don't think you need that much stuff, but you do. My truck was packed, and I didn't have room for a fourth person after it was all said and done because I was carrying stuff up for other people that couldn't make it till later, and it was a fiasco. But we were coming up that hill from Ash Fork into Williams, and I had been watching the storm just build over Bill Williams Mountain, just a massive storm. And we started up that hill, and then that storm just hit,
Oh
and it
boy.
hit bad. And I thank God I bought new tires last week because I looked at my tires last week. Like they're a little bald on the ends. I need to get new ones, but maybe I can hold off. And I'm very thankful I called Discount Tire last week and said, "Hey, do you have this size for off-road for an F-150? And they said yes. They gave me a great price. So I figured it's better to do it now than wait. And I'm very thankful I did, because I was coming around a curve right when that storm hit, trying to pass a semi, and the semi hit a puddle that just threw a wall of white water against my window. And my heart dropped because I couldn't see around the bend. I didn't know what was in front of me. 75, 80 miles an hour trying to go up that hill. I was terrified. And we had he and his girl right behind us. It was a little scary for a minute.
Yeah, because what do they drive?
They drive a big Dodge Ram.
Oh, they
1500.
they
So
have a big truck.
we had bigger trucks, but still, like the rain was pouring, you could barely see in front of you. And then that happened. They ended up hydroplaning. So we got to the house in Williams, and it was a downpour. I mean, it was an apocalyptic, nonstop downpour. We were sitting looking at each other, thinking, we're not going to make it out to this campsite. If it's like this in town, I can't imagine what it's going to be like out there. But we need to wait for a break in the weather to at least get out there and see. So the rain, after about an hour, finally let up enough for us to, put tarps over everything and run out there. And it was perfect. I mean, it was pouring in town, but it was just overcast and cool and nice up there. So it turned out to be just a really fun weekend where the kids ran around, ate s'mores. We put all the kids in one tent. We sat in the campfire and joked, and it was just neat. I mean, it was a lot of fun because kids got to be kids, and the adults got to hang out with each other. And there's something about cooking over an open flame. I posted some pictures. I made a tri-tip and a whole chicken over an open flame over the campfire. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that sounds really good. That sounds really good.
But it was just, it's nice to have family time stuff like that when you got kids running around. And
yeah.
We always said, let's do this more often. But the fact of the matter is as you get older, your schedule gets busier. Especially at the point of life we're at right now, where you're trying to juggle school, extracurricular activities, maintain your own life and work. It's hard.
Okay. So yeah, and I, just adding another wrinkle to it. The last time that we went camping was the Kowalska Fest with the big rainstorm that totally drenched us.
2016.
And yeah, that was the last time I went camping. And I will say that I've gotten to a point in my life where if it's not glamping or it's not a hotel room, I'm less able to do it and enjoy myself.
No, I will openly admit I have a setup now that could be considered glamping when it's all said and done if I put everything in.
Oh, okay. So you have a 3-room tent?
No, actually, I bought a pop-up, a 10x10 pop-up, and they have tents that attach to pop-ups now. So you basically make little communes. So
how nice. Okay.
We had that. We did that with everybody else, or with some friends, and camped next to others. But I agree with you. We're at the point in our life where we're talking to some friends, Ragnar and Webster, and they were talking about buying a fifth wheel because they like camping, but Ragnar's getting old.
Oh gosh, Ragnar's a young pup, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I flat out looked at him and said, "That's great. How often are you going to use it?" I mean, because if you invest in it, that's amazing, but you have to use it to justify the cost of it. You guys are terrible at taking vacations because you keep buying houses to flip.
Well, we actually went over to a party and saw some longtime friends, Rob and Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were talking with Rob and Kelly, Rob was talking about doing a workcation where he took his fifth wheel up to the mountains somewhere, basically worked because he works remotely. So he worked from the fifth wheel wherever he camped. And I thought, well, Ragnar and Webster, they have the ability to do that. They could work remotely, and do that. So maybe a fifth wheel for them would be different because they could, take it wherever they go and work from it, and still, camp out and do the fun stuff. So maybe that works better for them.
I think eventually Ragnar could do that if he wanted to, but he's still at that point in his new career where he's got to be doing the face-to-face. But you're right. It's a possibility down the road if they really wanted to do it. But I think it's one of those, this is fun, we should. But when you come back to reality, and this was the conversation we had Sunday morning, I was like, this is nice. Let's do this in town at Williams next time because there's running water, working kitchens, and we can go to the store as needed if we forget something. We're not SOL.
Well, Killshot's going to be doing a 2-week hunt up in that area. Mm-hmm. And even he was saying, I love cooking out. I love camping. But at the end of the day, I like going into town for a day, to get a shower, running water, maybe
Mhm.
a good night's sleep. It's worth it to him to do that. So I get it. I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, and
And I
he's talked to me about that arrangement, and I've worked that out with him. So
Yeah, and I just I don't know. I'm kind of at a point where I kind of agree. I mean, it is a lot of work to go camping anymore.
yeah,
Like it's not just simply a tent, a couple chairs, and some food. I mean, you need to have all of your camping gear. You need to have food. You need to have, all of the other things that make a trip worthwhile. And it is a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work.
well, it's funny. Mittens and I were talking about it because we were talking about our younger days of camping at the Kowalska Fest, where I used to sleep in the back of my truck,
Yeah.
and my food for the weekend would be a case of beer, a case of water, a case of soda, big sandwiches, Doritos, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember you would buy the big Safeway, sub sandwich, like, it
Yeah,
had, like, one of the, like, foot long or 2 feet long or whatever,
the foot long.
and
Yeah.
you'd eat that all weekend, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that was great. That was perfect for what I was doing. And this time, I started to get this feeling back in May when we went to Zion. It's a whole new world when you're the father figure of your family unit in something like this, because I'm the biggest, and Janice couldn't make it up there with me in time. So I was trying to set up camp. So all I had to do was go back into town, get her, and grab her, and come back in. That's a whole nother fiasco. But trying to set up a campsite with an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old helping, sometimes it's easier to do it on your own. You know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I get it, yeah. You guys go play with the sticks,
Yeah,
and let me take care of it.
yeah. I will handle this. Just go. But
Well,
they did good. But
well,
it's a
and
whole new respect for what my dad did when we were kids, because I remember my brother and I would go off and play while he would set up camp, and now I get all the work he put into, and we had an RV, so it was a fraction of what I had to do, but still a lot of work.
yeah. When I went camping with my father, I mean, if you didn't pack the food in a backpack, then you weren't eating, so everything was, we did a lot of like, pre-rationed food where you just put it in water,
Yeah,
and so there was no fancy, fire pits where everything was cooked on it. I mean, you basically had a fire to cook your water so you could eat the rationed food. It was
yeah,
very primitive compared to what I would want now. Like,
yeah.
seriously, I mean, if I don't have a butler on my camping lodge, I don't know what I'm doing with
Are
myself.
you even camping at that point?
I
Yeah.
mean, at that point, yeah. I mean, you've seen some of the Airbnbs and VBROs where they actually have tents,
Oh yeah.
like you can
Yurts.
Airbnb a tent, but it's glamping. I mean, it's nice. It's
Oh
got
yeah.
like running water in the tent, and it's got lighting and everything. So
And the best part is, like I said, the kids had a blast, and it's funny. It's funny because some brought the grandkids, and we were running around with just all the kids. We joked with them at night and sat on the campfire, and, told dad jokes and whatnot. But we were with Ragnar brought his grandson Jack,
oh, nice,
and Jack's the same age as all the kids, and
right?
he's an old soul, man. That kid is so funny. And he was telling me about how his mom, his house, his mom and her boyfriend have a squirrel problem where
Okay,
they're living under the house and they're starting to get in shit. I was like, well, what you got to do is you got to catch a squirrel and kill it, but put it in a noose and leave it hanging by the entrance of where they're getting under the house to send a message. That's
yeah, exactly.
that's the Chicago way.
Yeah, snitches
And
get stitches.
exactly, and it's funny because that kid just looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" And this was a very proud moment for me. I explained to them, and I got all the kids believing that there are boxing rules for squirrels.
Oh no, you did not.
I did.
Oh
I did, and
man,
they couldn't
come
comprehend
on.
it because I said if a squirrel looks at you and it's sitting like it sits up at you, like on its hind legs, I said that's a challenge. So what you have to do is that's a boxing match with a squirrel, and it's perfectly legal. You have to bow, and then you got to punch it really quick before it gets you. And I said, well, when I've done in the past, I go over the top and hit square on the head. Like I throw a haymaker and hit it square. Because if you try to get in a speed match with it, it's gonna eat you up. And that kid was just like, why would you even punch a squirrel?
Yeah.
And we went back and forth over it. And by the end of the weekend, there was the Laotian rules because our buddy Brian was in the Marines, and he tried to tell him you can sweep the legs, and I had to explain to Jack that's only legal in Laos when you're dealing with Laotian squirrels, and we didn't see a squirrel the whole weekend until 5 minutes before we left on Sunday, and I didn't think anything about it. But I said, Jack, look, a squirrel, and that kid took off chasing it,
Oh, jeez, that is so funny.
and I
Oh,
was like,
kids will believe it though, right?
oh yeah,
Kids
it
will
was like,
believe it if you
and,
sell it.
and
You have to be a good salesman.
I had that thought, man. It's like, oh shit, what if that squirrel slows down for half a second, he catches up? And thank God that squirrel went up a tree. It was fine. But like, oh man, if he boxes this thing, it's going to be horrible and hilarious at the same time. And the kid's
Well,
probably get rabies.
so and I guess that's the thing because I have a friend who is really interested in doing the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
Um, and I read a book. I thought, well, that sounds kind of cool. I mean, you hike basically you hike from Georgia all the way up to Maine,
Yeah.
right? And and I'm reading this book, and you're basically camping in very minimal camping for about 4.5 months,
Yeah.
depending how you go. And I started thinking to myself, it's like, you know what, Jason, I don't think you enjoy camping enough to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it would be nice to be able to say, hey, I hiked the Appalachian Trail in one, start to finish. But I don't know, man. That's a hell of a lot of lack of amenities.
Yeah. I could camp a lot more if I could we decided this weekend, Janice and I decided that it's time to get rid of the air mattress and switch to cots if we're going to camp. Because the deflated as the night goes on, and she described it as sleeping on a bounce house where when I would roll over, she would go flying in the air.
Yeah, I mean I think that is a big problem when there's such a disparity between the two sizes of the people sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
The smaller person usually does get tousled pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you have that, yeah, totally. Versus in glamping, you have a mattress that's a real mattress, and it's
Yeah.
really nice,
And that's completely different. Yeah. So, we're going to see the girls are very excited to go camping again. So I think it's something we're going to have to do. So we're going to have to invest in
yeah.
something
So you guys
cots.
created another moment. See, another moment was created. That's all
Yeah.
that's important.
It was good. It was a lot of fun. Memories were made. So that's the
Yeah.
important.
And that's the thing is that unfortunately, a lot of times, a lot of the activities are adults oriented.
Yeah.
Adults only oriented. So it's nice that the kids, the parents that have kids can do something with a group of kids that can all have fun, and it's a little bit more. I wouldn't say G rated, but it's a little bit more PG rated in terms of the activities that the adults do is more focused on the kids because that it would be kind of hard. Every activity that we do is always around kid or around adults.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but then I've got to coordinate. And with the kids, then you guys can have something to remember.
yeah, and that's it. It's fun for them. It was fun for all the kids. And I think the parts that we thought were funny were about halfway through Friday night on the campfire. Jack looked at all of us sitting there, just talking, and you know how it is when Ragnar and Mittens and Pemberton and I, and then when you're with us are all together, we go back to how it was a decade ago, where you're laughing, you're telling jokes, you're carrying on.
Oh
And
yeah.
at one point, Jack looked at us and said, "You're a bunch of sixth graders. You guys are a bunch of middle schoolers. I can't believe you're saying half these things." And he walked off. And this is like, you're in fifth grade, kid. You should be appreciating the stuff we're saying.
Yeah, these are pearls of wisdom, man.
Yeah, like pay attention, buddy. Like we're here to help you. And I said, someday when you're our age, you're going to find out that you have friends that you get around and you go back to to a certain time in your life where you don't care how mature and how important your job is. A fart joke's a fart joke, and it's still funny.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I mean, we did, unfortunately that he's very true. I mean, that's what we did. That when it was definitely a more youthful time for
Mhm.
all of us.
Well, it's funny because he's just started calling us sixth graders. So at the end of the night on Saturday night, the kids all went to their tent because they all took over a giant tent, and Jack was hanging out there for a while, and he finally said, I'm going to go hang out with the sixth graders." And Jocelyn, who takes everything very literally, was concerned that other kids had showed up and they didn't know about it. Couldn't go hang out.
uh,
And had to explain, like, no, he was
was
talking about
Cadence
us.
there?
What's that?
Was Cadence there?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah. Because
Oh yeah.
Cadence is an old soul too. I mean, she's like older than her age too.
Oh yeah. Those two are old souls, and they were funny. All the kids had a great time. That's the
Oh, that's awesome. And the parents had a good time too.
yeah. It's a good group because it's a mix of old and new with these relationships and getting people involved. So it's always good.
Oh, that sounds fun, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to get my my big boy shorts on though if I want to go camping again. While I love camping, it's a hell of a lot of work. In fact, I think that when we metricized ourselves and moved down to Phoenix, we might have gotten rid of all of our camping gear.
Oh.
So
Well,
we may have to, you know, we might
wait.
have to figure something out
It
because
might
I
be
don't
worth
even think
just get some stuff and just leave it in this place in Williams,
you
in
know.
Kurtzworth Manor North, and
But
just
now that I'm a metrosexual, like I you know,
yeah.
I can't slum like that. You know.
Well, it's funny though because that's what it comes down to. Because I camped all the time as a kid, and we realized, like I said, a few of us realized Sunday morning, like, this is nice, but next time beds, showers, grocery stores, running water, it's easier to handle kids that way. If all goes to hell, we can just get them pizza.
Well, yeah, and the nice thing is though is that at least we're close enough in Arizona to be close to areas where you can kind of go out and get back to that nature type
Yeah,
of of camping. You know what I mean? Where
yeah,
you're out in nature and there's not a lot of noise and there's not a lot of people. And that was one of the things about Wild Cow Springs was that you once you got up that road, you were kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So you got to get rid of the sounds and the noises and everything that kind of we've become so accustomed to in this society.
yeah.
It
Oh yeah. It's I appreciate it, and it's always fun to go and revisit it, but it's always fun to leave it though too. It's like anything else in life.
yeah,
It's fun to revisit your past and do things you used to do all the time, but you don't have to make it a part of your life anymore if you don't want to.
that's right. That's right. And I mean, and like I said, I would definitely invest. That's the good thing too, is you and Janice have the ability to invest in higher quality bedding so that it's a comfort. You can still be comfortable and in nature.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
maybe that's what I like. I think I don't want to have to like, do it on the cheap,
Hmm.
pay for the nice equipment, pay for the nice things to give yourself a little bit of the amenities. Now that we've come to a point in our lives where we have a little bit of extra money, buy a cot,
Yeah,
it's okay if you want to get, nice lanterns instead of the cheap ones, you can
yeah.
get the nice lanterns,
And that way you have to justify the cost by going out and actually using them.
Exactly, exactly,
So
exactly.
so what's funny on top of this is Jocelyn in her house has discovered binge watching. She's binge watching Stranger Things. Uh,
Oh, yeah, okay.
but she can only do it when her sister's not around. So her
Oh,
sister's gone to her dad's every other weekend. And 2 weekends ago, but weekend before we went camping, she literally watched season 1 and season 2 in one
wow.
weekend. Like
Didn't even leave the house.
she did some power binge watching. Like it's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yep.
I can binge watch, but I couldn't do what she did right out the gate. And it's funny with her. She's obsessed with Harry Potter. Like
Oh,
she did the Pottermore test. She's Hufflepuff. She's everything Harry Potter.
okay.
And within the last 2 weeks, I have watched that shift, that dynamic, and
Wow.
she is now
She's growing up. Yeah.
she's all Stranger Things. It's all strange, and she was talking with the kids in the camping. She's like, I have a crush on Dustin and Steve and Billy and she just named off all the like the older kids and Dustin. It's like this is hilarious.
And Dustin, yeah, no, Dustin is he's the kind of character that you think he's cute, but you can never think you have a crush on the guy
Yeah,
because
well,
he's kind of a goofball.
all the girls had a crush on him at the camp, her age. So like, all right, well, but she's obsessed with it, and she's trying to watch season 3 when her sister's not around during the week, and it's hard.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to explain to her how to pace herself in a situation like this,
Yeah.
because the show's not over yet. The next season won't be out for another year and a half to 2 years. So I told her, like, listen, you got 2 seasons to go before you're caught up with the rest of us, and you're stuck waiting like the rest of us. Like, you need to be careful how fast you want to go through this.
Do you
And
find it so odd? I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember when I was a kid, there were certain nights of the week that you know, if you had a TV show that you liked, there were certain nights of the week that was a 30-minute or, an hour-long show. You got all the commercials. You had to deal with, I mean, you got one. That's
Mhm.
it. You got one. You had to deal with all the commercials, and that just made that day so much more special.
Oh yeah,
While I love binge watching, I mean, I don't know what I frankly don't know what I did before binge watching, but now that I have it, I would hate to lose it.
yeah,
Um, it is remindful of the fact that there was a time where, you know, the weekly show came on, and you just didn't have an opportunity to watch it. There were no reruns. There wasn't anything like that either. It was, you got a chance to watch the show, and if you didn't watch it that week, that was it. You didn't get to see that show.
well, what I like, what I appreciate about like Hulu, they tell you that the original air dates of the show, because I rewatched MASH, all 11 seasons earlier this year.
What?
Yeah, I
Oh,
grew up on
wow.
MASH. I love it. And it's funny. After that, I started How I Met Your Mother, and this
Okay.
is just something I can watch in the background at night. It's just,
Yeah,
I've seen them, but I've never really. But it's been long enough since I've watched it. It's kind of fun to watch them again.
sure.
So back in the 70s and 80s during MASH, I noticed they didn't take breaks like they do now in the middle of a season. Like, you got 22 episodes in 22 weeks.
Right.
Like, there was no, we're taking it off for for Christmas, we're taking this week off for that or that. No, you got 22 weeks of 22 episodes, and then you're waiting 30 some odd weeks for that to come back around.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me because you look at the way MASH did their storytelling. That was basically a show that the Korean War was, what, 3 or 4 years, 2 years, something like
Yeah. It was a long time because it was like 48 to
that.
54 or something like that.
Yeah,
So 4 or 5 years, 6 years, something like that.
yeah, and I think MASH takes place in like a 2 to 3 year time span.
Okay.
But they didn't have a lot of like overarching storylines. Every week was pretty much a compact 30-minute episode. What happened in that show happened in that show. You move on to the next one. They had a couple like Houlihan getting married and the fallout from that, but there was not a lot of like back and forth storytelling that they have now. And How I Met Your Mother is interesting to me because they planted seeds in season 1 for stories they would tell in season 5, and they would go
Yeah.
back in season 4 and replay and like laugh at jokes or recall jokes from season 2, and they play it so much differently because they have such long-term storytelling versus what it was back then. you know
Yeah. It's almost like the writing now. I just got done watching Mad Men again.
yeah,
And same thing. I mean, the writers are so skilled now that they can write something that happens in season one and then connect it in season four as a reference that, oh, that's why that happened. They just have a skill set that is so tremendous with these writers. It's crazy.
just another example of just great storytelling and great, we'll call it long-term storytelling, but it's also retrofitting.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell the excellent writing versus shows that just like the two Broke Girls. It's just one liner after one liner after one liner. There's really not a story per
Yeah.
se. It's just one liner after one liner versus like How I Met Your Mother, Friends, Mad Men, any of these shows where you watch them and it's like, wow,
But
um,
you look at tremendous writing. I'll agree. We're running out of time here, but a great example is Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Breaking Bad is, to me, the godfather of television shows, and Better Call Saul turned into the godfather too of television shows for me,
wow,
with the way
okay,
they laid things out. But there was a line when the first line that Saul Goodman said in Breaking Bad was, "It wasn't me, it was Ignacio," um, and that was a throwaway line. They built a whole rich character and with a backstory in Better Call Saul from that line.
yeah,
And it was an amazing story arc that they told with this, but it was a throwaway line at the get go. So to be able to have that kind of foresight when you start like a prequel show to something like Breaking Bad, and have that play out so you could see, the tragedy in that story arc. Is it to me?
Yeah, I agree with you, and my favorite shows are a little different than yours, but the same thing. When you look at the writing, there's just something that um, it just captures you, the way that they write it to the way that the characters act it.
Yeah,
Like Odenkirk. I mean, go from a total goofball actor
yeah.
to Better Call Saul Goodman. I mean, and to see what kind of actor he is now, you can tell that a defining moment in his career too. Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure watching Mash. So was that on Hulu?
It's on Hulu. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. I never watched the full stories of Mash, but I remember them as a child, and my mom and dad around the TV guide working toward making sure that they watched that show.
yeah,
Whereas now, like you said, binge watch, I'll just watch all of them in one go. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
yeah, that's. I don't know. I'm glad we have it. I don't know what I did before I had it, but I'm glad that Joe is like she's embracing that as something that she likes doing.
Oh yeah, and to wrap up that story too, like she came home from school the other day with a book fair order form.
Oh yeah, yeah, book fair.
And
Yep.
and she goes, "Did you know Stranger Things has graphic novels, side stories? Can I get them?"
Oh,
I was like, "Oh, that's cool. You
oh,
have your
that's really cool.
money." And she goes, "Can we get them?" I was like, "Well, hold on, we'll figure it out. Let me Google it." And there's a whole series of them on Amazon. But I was like, they're graphic novels, which means they're comic books, not novels like you like. She goes, "Oh, okay. Can we still get them?" So she's obsessed with the world, which I think is really cool. But
Yeah, yeah. I do find it fascinating that you and I are built the same way as I can watch certain shows over and over again, and I'm
Mhm.
I'm totally fine with that. I found out that Noreen is a big Friends.
Really,
I didn't know that, but she's a big Friends. I like the show Friends. So when it came on Netflix, she binge watched the entire um,
11 seasons.
series, and what she would do is she would play it in the morning when she was getting ready for work,
Uh huh.
and so that's how she watched it, is not necessarily sit and just watch, but background noise for
Yeah,
her. So
and that's what I do in my
anyways.
office early in the morning. I put on my iPad and I watch an episode as I'm like going through emails and getting it all cleared out. So it helps pass the time during the morning too, before everyone else gets there, and it just kind of breaks things up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So if you have a camping story or a show that you really like to binge and want to tell us about it, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. If you have show recommendations or Colorado camping recommendations for our EP Tom, hit him up on Twitter and Instagram at liquid_EP.
So yeah, so I wonder if there are places where you can glamp and binge at the same time.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes, that's called your
So
backyard.
yeah, something like that. That's
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm glad you guys had a good time. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. Now it's on to
Good deal.
soccer practices and everything else.
Yeah,
So
back to normal life. That's
back,
right. That's right.
fall is here.
That's right. That's right.
So take us home, Jason.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. We always appreciate you guys. That was Scott. I am Jason, and as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some liquid courage.